At first glance many don't even consider it to be American. Controversial opinions of Reddit that will make you ask. You like jazz? Parents do not own their children's property. Okay, I get owning the phone because obviously you pay for it, but stuff like clothes, books, jewelry, toys and especially money, that all belongs to them. Seriously, saying you own everything they have and you can just take it anytime because it's yours is disrespectful as all hell. When I said take, I don't mean temporarily. You can take it for as long as you want, as long as you give it back at some point in time. It's when you take it away forever or destroy, throw away. That's when it becomes disrespectful. The only exception is an electronic that you have to constantly pay for. For example, a phone, a computer, a television or a tablet. Do what you want with the things you pay a fee to keep working. Often it is a parent who is grasping at any and all attempts to maintain control, so they make drastic claims about taking away the keys to the car you bought and pay gas insurance for. They will take away your clothes and only let you wear jeans and a white t-shirt they provide for you, and make you eat only bread and water, all because you gotta be on your 8th grade report card. On the flip side, there are some incredibly entitled children out there who put a password on their iPhone 13X Max Pro S and browse the internet fully unmonitored by their parents. At the end of the day, just don't be a shitty parent, and if you are a shitty kid, I understand you are still maturing and learning, but try to be less shitty each day. Medical doctors are the most exploited healthcare professional. Sure, they get paid the most, but they literally give up their youth and their lives. Crazy long hours for most specialities, along with their mental health, the top or near top profession for suicide and family life, high rates of divorce, lack of time to spend with family. You should respect doctors more because they're actually not paid enough for how much they sacrifice. Lots of other professions such as lawyers, business executives, software engineers etc. make more than doctors. Both of my parents are in the medical profession and do not want me to go into medicine because the salary is not worth the endless studying and debt. My dad is a doctor and seeing him struggle as a kid made me want to do nothing with medicine. However, I also picked an industry where I have to work 12 hours a day, so I guess I learned nothing. People only dislike Shakespeare because of how it's taught in schools. Shakespeare was a playwright. Plays are meant to be watched and enjoyed on a fun night out, not read and analyzed in a classroom. I think it's awesome to read Shakespeare and analyze it if that's what you want, but it's dumb that we're forced to do it in school. If schools want to teach Shakespeare, the students should actually watch the plays, or be in a production themselves, instead of just reading through the scripts. English classes always made it seem like Shakespeare was this highbrow, overly complicated, no fun allowed peak of literature, when they were originally written to entertain the public, the poor in particular. Shakespeare is crass and funny, and the language isn't even that confusing once you get used to it, and I'm sad that so many people think it's boring. I really think more people would like Shakespeare if school taught it differently. I also think we read Shakespeare way too young. They had me reading it in 4th grade, which I think is ridiculous looking back. The language in my opinion is only difficult to read, it's not hard to comprehend when it's being performed well. Sure, you won't understand exactly what all the words and phrases mean, but the actors can get across a lot of the meaning just by being expressive. Cookies are better dipped in juice than milk. Especially chocolate chip cookies dipped in apple juice, or cranberry. Delicious. Oreos dipped in lemonade is another go-to. I like those sugar cookies with the frosting and sprinkles dunked into juice. Even Gatorade or Capri Sun go better with any kind of cookies than milk does. Same for Pop-Tarts. I also do it with donuts, brownies, devil dogs, zebra cakes, etc. And P.S. I am not pregnant. I miss things like the clown epidemic of 2016. I miss weird stuff like that happening. I feel like the last 5 years have been so dull. Aside from the actual violence and borderline wars and things like that, at least. To me, the clown sightings thing was like a mysterious escape from the real problems of the world. I was genuinely intrigued with it, constantly looking for stories and at one point even cruising my town for clowns. In the same vein would be the early 2000s when there were almost weekly alien sightings and stories being posted daily. Obviously this still happens to an extent, but it was different then. I know some clowns ended up being potentially dangerous, so I understand that it's definitely not all just fun and games, but if there's going to be dangerous criminals, at least these were literally clear as day and interesting. It's not objectively a good thing, but it was fun and captured my interest and imagination. Looking back, I honestly feel like things were awesome all the way until the virus happened. Things like the clowns, gadgets like fidget spinners, games like Fortnite and Minecraft getting huge. I just miss trends where everyone would pitch in and have fun. It just feels so different now to me. I think we should all live with our parents. I see so many jokes in popular media about someone living with their parents. I come from India and it is very normal to live with parents, and I believe it makes absolute sense to do so from 1. Mental health perspective. Some families can be toxic, but generally, it is very healthy to be around family. There is someone looking out for you, someone you can rely on, and that love is unconditional. 2. Financial perspective. I don't think this needs any explanation. 3. Planet perspective. I don't know if anyone has realized that living in separate quarters creates additional waste and adds to the burden of the planet. 4. Caring for the child and the elderly. Your parents need you in their old age, and you can greatly benefit from their help with rearing your children. I have so many fond memories of living with my grandparents. Now I realize that all situations are different with each family. Do move out where you need to. The only thing I wished to highlight was the advantages of living together and why this should be an acceptable option too. I have seen a lot of mocking in popular Western media over it. Privacy is important, opportunity is important, and autonomy over one's life and one's family is important. If this can't be worked out living together, there is nothing wrong with moving out. Thank you all. Even if high schools taught useful classes that prepared students for the real world, most people wouldn't pay attention or still find something to complain about. I've seen too many high schools should teach useful classes posts and need to give my 2 cents. Personal finance was a required class in my high school. Everyone had to take it by graduation. We learned how to write a check, balance a checkbook, fill out a W-4, budget, and calculate a tax bracket. I'm sure there's more, but I'm forgetting. But that's my point. I learned all this stuff and I forgot. And I was an honor roll student. Not to mention, so many people from my high school complain about high school being a waste of time and how they didn't learn anything useful. You literally did. You just didn't pay attention or care enough to remember and want to blame your shortcomings on the system. Somebody replied, completely agree. My school had that personal finance class too, and it was rare attendance for that class would get above 50%. I see a bunch of people I went to high school with posting stuff about various social issues, and they'll say something like they didn't teach us about this in history, and I'm just left thinking, I was in your history class and they did, you just showed up high not at all when it happened. The phrase Americans don't have culture is a testament to how successful and widespread American culture is. American culture is so widespread that it integrated into many other cultures, and at first glance many don't even consider it to be American culture. Hollywood, Star Wars, Marvel movies, Taylor Swift, all American. But even in a country with another culture they wouldn't even consider it to be American, because they're so used to it. I'm not American, by the way. I'm an international student studying in the USA and happen to hear lots of America has no culture by self-hating American classmates. Somebody replied, I think the best example of American culture spreading is Halloween. To give a bit of an example, I grew up in Germany around the 2002 to 2010. TV was full of American cartoons like Fairly OddParents, Totally Spies, SpongeBob, etc. And, around every October, the channels would obviously have specials in regards to holidays, like Christmas, Valentine, and Halloween. And every year, I asked my parents why we never went trick-or-treating, like the kids on TV. And every year, my mother would tell me, because it's not German. Back then, It confused me quite a lot. If it wasn't German, why did every channel spoke about how Halloween is near? Why did we get specials? Why did my neighbors go trick-or-treating sometimes? Why did we then carve pumpkins? Answer for the last one. Because I wanted to. To me, Halloween was so normalized that I first didn't get that she was technically right. Even till this day, Halloween is mainly an American thing. It's not in our culture. We only became Americanized through media. Overall, we already have our own Halloween fashion, from of Carnival. It's very similar, though not being about spooky and has more Christian roots. Shrek, the B-movie etc. are not funny and are so overused. I am ready for the hate on this, but people who still make Shrek and B-movie jokes are the most insufferable people to be around. Their humor has not matured since the early 2010s. You like jazz? Or do you want to watch the B-movie or Shrek? No, I do not. Please shut the hell up. Kids Bop covers are, for the most part, better than the originals. My daughter listens to Kids Bop all the time and I find myself enjoying it way more than I should. When a song really gets stuck in my head, I'll check out the original and almost always prefer the Kids Bop version. Well produced and the kids' voices are just pleasant to listen to. I am a huge music fan. All genres, but I don't listen to much top 40. Mad props to Kids Bop though. Using the voice feature to write texts on your phone is at best, super cringy and unnecessary, at worst, attention-seeking. I can't stand when people do this, especially in public. It's super weird, awkward, completely unnecessary and most bizarre of all, it doesn't even work. Every fourth word is usually incorrect. I know people who when in the middle of a conversation, will literally say "oh excuse me," and then voice type their text out loud right in front of everyone. So obviously we all have to sit there awkwardly and be quiet for a minute while we listen to this private conversation. It's honestly more rude than just whipping out your phone and sending a text really quick. But people have to show off their cool little gimmicky gadgets and soak up what little attention they can get. I'm obviously not talking about people who are blind, or disabled, or your poor little grandma with her broken arm. I'm talking about people who do it unnecessarily. People who go out of their way to interrupt conversations and draw attention to themselves when they can just text. Kids have no obligation to take care of their parents when they become old. A parent's job is to raise the next generation. That is it. Kids don't need to be indebted to taking care of parents on their old age. When the kid has his own kids, that is him paying it forward. The parent had parents when they were children, so then having kids was paying it forward. I think there is a difference in feeling like you owe it to your parents because you love them and genuinely want to help them in whatever way you are capable of, and your parents expecting you to be their around-the-clock caregiver solely based on the fact that they gave birth to you. I know I want to support my parents when they need me because I love them and not because I grew up with the expectation that I'll eventually put my nursing degree to use for them later in life. I also think that there is no wrong or right way to take care of someone. For one person it might just not be possible to take in a parent and physically care for them on top of having their own family and maybe a job too, and if financial and emotional support is what you can give, that's completely okay. My best friend was born when her dad was already in his late 50s, and while he had 3 adult sons, he told her from a very young age that he only agreed to have another child this late so she would be young and fit to take care of him when he's older. She was literally born and raised with the purpose of taking care of her dad, which she was constantly reminded of, and now in his 80s her dad cannot understand how she just went to university, married and started a family when he needs her help. Americans are not the most obnoxious tourists. They're generally some of the better mannered. Just got back from about a month in Europe, which was my 8th trip over, and I officially have no idea where the stereotype about Americans being the most obnoxious tourists in foreign countries comes from. 99% of the time that someone was being loud or obnoxious, it was a tourist from another European country. The Americans for the most part kept to themselves and didn't create a lot of noise. Meanwhile, loud Europeans yelled to each other in groups, smoked in crowded spaces, screamed into their phones, and generally were oblivious about anyone else around them. Asian tourists were quieter and politer, but the girls especially won't hesitate to take a picture of themselves right in the middle of a narrow walkway. Don't get me wrong, there were plenty of annoying, loud Americans, especially college-aged groups. But for the most part, Americans were far more conscious of those around them. By and large, not the most obnoxious visitors. I don't care if a homeless person spends money I give them on drugs. Crazy thought, I know, but honestly, why should I care that a homeless person uses the money I give them on drugs? Plenty of housed people do drugs, abuse alcohol, etc. Why is it okay just because it's behind closed doors? Homeless people are judged far more harshly for doing normal human things simply because they are exposed. I don't think that's right. Why is it okay that my bartender or that business exec does coke, but a homeless person does it and they suddenly don't deserve anything in life? It's hypocritical. Somebody replied, saw a guy holding a sign that said need weed at a stoplight. Blew my mind that some guy in a Mercedes rolled down his window and handed him what was obviously a joint. Nothing wrong with that, just something I haven't ever seen before having grown up in hillbilly land. People that have obsessions with fictional characters are some of the most annoying people online. I think it's so annoying when people's entire social media accounts are just dedicated to certain fictional characters, posting them every minute or so like anyone actually cares. No one gives a single fuck if you love character from video game. It's so annoying to have to just scroll through my feed or some stories and see 20 pictures of the same boring character. I've even seen people cry on their stories about these characters. It's okay to be a fan of characters, but, damn, tone it down. Worst part is I would feel rude if I unfollowed because they're all people I know offline, and act more than decent in person. It would be rude to unfollow or block. Somebody replied, TBH, your view is perfectly understandable, I'm not going to debate you at all. It gets annoying, and we can't help being annoyed sometimes, it's all fine. But also knowing very well how comforting a fictional person can be when, indeed, this is sad, but it's solely the problem of the obsessed person, not yours to handle. Nobody in your life has actually been comforting or supportive or accepting you. Specifically all of this while you grew up, therefore never learned about a healthy and steady relationship of possibly any kind. Even a few pixels saying the right words at the right time, or being extremely relatable, can end up your lifesaver, if we want to go that deep into the matter, because sometimes it actually is exactly that. After all, even the fictional person might have a real person behind it, even if it's just the voice actor giving them some liveliness. Sometimes the creator is similar to the obsessed watcher/gamer, therefore they relate to each other on a personal note, and this fictional character made them feel less lonely, somehow possibly emotionally connecting them in a way. I can assure you many of us are seeking actual help in order to work through the originally developed personal problems, or are actually trying to. Most of us can't afford it though. So really, if it helps them, but you can't handle it, either mention that you'd like to have a topic you both could talk about, or instead look for the right people to talk to. Thanks for watching. That last opinion had two sides. What do you think about idolizing fictional characters? Let me know what you think in the comments below.